How does it feel to wake up during surgery? When you can't move or speak, but you feel everything that's happening to you at this moment. Sometimes I read several similar horror stories before, but I couldn't imagine that I myself would one day encounter this. This is the moment when you feel your organs like someone is swarming in them. Unpleasant sensations. I've always looked after my health. A healthy diet, lots of fruit, and daily workouts. By the way, I play football for the national team of our school. To be correct, I was playing. It didn't seem to mean anything, but once we played in the yard together with a parallel class. The contestants had a guy named Bill on their team. Large build and very clumsy. And what do you think? To my misfortune, he fell with all his weight on me. So much so that I broke all the bones in my foot. Of course, he didn't do it on purpose. At first, I didn't even notice anything from the shock, but when I realized what had happened, the pain suddenly made itself felt. I even lost consciousness for a moment. I only woke up when I was being taken in an ambulance, sitting next to the doctor. When he saw me, he said that he had done anesthesia and would perform the operation, namely, you need to put a plate on the bone. Then I was not able to think about anything, but it was terribly scary. The doctor assured me that this is a standard operation and there's nothing to be afraid of, but I still worried. For me, it was the first operation in my life, and even if everyone around you says there's nothing wrong with it, it's still kind of creepy to imagine how you'll be cut and then dig inside. It's like a horror movie, but the doctors I got a good one. They joked and tried to cheer me up. Already in the operating room, an anesthesiologist approached me and also threw a couple of jokes to diffuse the situation. He put a tube in my nose, and I suddenly felt heavy. Everything swam, and I passed out exactly as it should be. In general, everything went on as usual, but then something happened in this quiet course of the operation that no one could have expected. As far as I remember, I started to wake up slowly. The brain couldn't figure out what was going on. My mind was trying to wake up. My body felt heavy. I tried to open my eyes, but it was difficult. As soon as I opened my eyelids, a bright light was shining directly on my face. After getting used to it a little, I finally opened my eyes completely and for about another minute tried to understand what was happening. I found that a tube had been inserted into my right nostril, and it was probably used for air to breathe better, but my nostril was blocked. I didn't understand what was happening because I vaguely remembered that I was in surgery, and the last thing I remembered was that after I was anesthetized, I asked my assistants to tell me a story before going to bed. I was lying on the operating table, and I continued to do the operation in real time. I felt holes being drilled into my bones one by one. There was no pain. I only felt the moments when the drill passed through the bone wall. It can be compared to how metal plates were drilled in labor lessons. First, the effort, and then abruptly releases. Here and I felt the sound of a drill. Don't know how it's called honey tool. And these pushes, time after time. I began to panic wildly. But as they say, trouble does not come alone. The anesthesia must have numbed my entire body, and I couldn't even move my lips. I couldn't scream or move my hands. All that remained was just to watch the process. My head was all mixed up. The doctors didn't even notice that I was awake and continued to operate calmly. I've seen them pass tools to each other. Imagine personally watching how you do the operation and at the same time not being able to somehow draw attention to yourself. It's just something unreal. When the panic passed, I decided that it was probably quite interesting. Not everyone will get this opportunity, you know? And there was no pain. So I even got used to it. But suddenly, one of the assistants glanced at my face and then froze in disbelief. It was obvious she didn't expect this, flustered from the surprise. The girl quickly refilled the tube and added more anesthesia. I fell asleep before the end of the operation, and I woke up when the incision was sewn up. But even then, I should not have woken up. Apparently, my body at that time categorically refused to sleep, but the assistants were already ready for this, and already quickly put me to sleep. I woke up in the ward and was recovering a little. At that moment, a doctor came to me and asked how I was feeling. Everything was normal. and I noticed that all the paramedics were crowded behind the door. Apparently, they were very curious to see such a restless patient. I felt like a star. My doctor smiled, but it was obvious that he was very worried about his mistake in front of me. But I'm not offended. On the contrary, I love adrenaline. Have any of you experienced this situation? Tell us under the video, and don't forget to subscribe and share my story with your friends. Can and with them occurred such interesting history.
Have you ever been unable to move when you wake up? You try your best, but your body won't listen. Then you notice a person who comes up to you, sits on your chest, and then it becomes impossible to breathe. My name is Mike. I want to share with you my story that happened to me when I was 17 years old. At that time, I often suffered from sleep paralysis. This is the state when you seem to wake up, but you are still in a dream and can't move. At the same time, you can see everything that is happening around you. This state can best be described as between dream and reality. Even sometimes, to me, to see that dreadful, overgrown woman in red, the one I saw in my dream. That summer, my parents sent me on vacation to my grandmother's farm to help her with the housework. I admit I grew up in an urban environment, and we lived in an apartment. I didn't go to my grandmother's house much, only once a year at least, so I wasn't particularly close to chores, especially on a farm. I was still a student at that time. Like many of them, I suffered from insomnia. I didn't know how to behave without computer games. On arrival, my grandmother gave me a warm welcome and told me that I could stay in the attic. On that first day, everything around me was very interesting. I ran to the river, met the local guys. By the way, they were very friendly guys. They showed me all the interesting places in the village, but I remember one thing most. My grandmother had a small abandoned shed. Out of curiosity, I went to see what was inside. I saw a scarecrow standing in the corner. It was dressed in an old red granny dress, with a hat on its head and hay sticking out of the bag instead of hair. I didn't pay much attention, but apparently this image remained somewhere in my head. In general, the day was very busy. I came home late at night and fell asleep immediately. I didn't have time for the phone that day. The first time you get into this state, the first thing you experience is shock and wild fear. At some point, I woke up and didn't know if it was a dream or reality. I was also in my room, but I felt someone's presence. Peering into the corner, I clearly saw the silhouette of a man. The panic started and I couldn't move or call for help. All I could do at that moment was lie there and watch and panic. Suddenly, the shape began to move toward me. When he came out into the light, I could see him clearly, or rather her. It was a woman in a red dress, her hair overgrown and disheveled, and her nails were long. She didn't stop walking slowly toward me. I closed my eyes in frustration and tried to sleep, but the worry in my heart did not give me peace. After a couple of seconds, I decided to open my eyes and think that I had imagined it all. But as soon as I opened them, I saw her face to face again, as she stretched out her hands and began to violently choke me. I couldn't get enough air and I started to gasp. You can say my whole life flashed before my eyes. I felt my previously motionless hand, which was as if it was filled with lead, experience freedom, as if my hand had been released from its prison. I clearly felt that I was moving both hands, but the strangest thing is that I didn't see them at all. I was shocked. I tried to throw this woman off, but I couldn't feel her. I still can't forget that feeling. I was amazed by this. From fear and pain, I screamed, but instead of a scream, I heard a low growl inside me, very far. But because of this, the vibrations became even stronger. I couldn't stand it any longer when suddenly she pressed me down with unimaginable force, and I woke up for real. I realized that I had been lying with my eyes open, and that a veil of darkness had passed from my eyes. My heart was pounding. Everything happened quickly. My grandmother was standing next to me, tugging at my shoulder. She told me how she heard strange screams and immediately ran to find out what was happening. I shared my dream with her, and my grandmother explained to me it was sleep paralysis, the moment when the brain woke up before the body, and that there is nothing wrong with it. She just suggested that I play less computer games before bed. I didn't sleep in the attic after that. I moved closer to my grandmother, because you never know what was going to happen. It took me a long time to get away from this horror story. For a couple of days, I didn't sleep all night. I still don't turn off the lights in my room. Tell us if you have ever had this, and what kind of image came to you. And don't forget to subscribe and share my story with your friends.